Ben Whiting with Paddle TV, and in this video I am comparing two of the most popular portable touring kayaks, the Oru kayak and the Track 2.0 kayak. Both of these kayaks solve a big problem a lot of people have, which is how to store or how to transport a full-sized kayak. Both of these kayaks solve that problem because they pack down into these small bags that you can throw into the back of your vehicle or store in your closet. The big question is, which is the right kayak for you? And so let's start with a quick look at both. The Track 2.0 kayak is 16 feet long. It's 22.5 inches wide. It weighs 42 pounds or 19 kilos, and it has a capacity of 450 pounds or 205 kilos. Now there are 7 different models of the Oru kayak ranging from 9 feet to 16 feet long, but the Oru Kayak Coast here is the only one that really is comparable to the Track kayak, and so let's look at that one. The Oru Kayak Coast XT is 16 feet 2 inches long. It's 25 inches wide. It weighs 32 pounds or 14.5 kilos. And it has a capacity of 400 pounds or 180 kilos. Now, if you're one of those impatient people who just wants the answer right away, here's a quick breakdown. The Track kayak it's a more portable kayak. It's a better performing kayak. It's a more comfortable kayak. It's a more durable kayak. And it's a more versatile kayak. It can handle a wider variety of conditions. In fact, I think it's fair to say that it's the most versatile kayak in the world, and I'll get more into that. Now, on the flip side, the Oru Kayak Coast XT is a little bit more stable than the Track. It's also, and probably most importantly for it, it's cheaper than the Track kayak. To put that into perspective, the Coast XT retails for $2,000 US, while the Track retails for $3,600 US. That's a pretty big difference. What I can tell you from the top is that both actually deliver great value. When you compare these kayaks to comparable kayaks on the market, portable or not portable, this is what kayaks of this nature are going to cost. It's what you should expect to spend, whether they're portable or not. The question you really have to ask yourself when deciding between these two is it worth the extra money to get a kayak that's superior in almost every way? And to help you make that decision, I'm going to go into more depth about what the differences really are between these two kayaks. And let's start with portability. Now, when we're talking about portability, there's really 3 different things that we're going to be looking at. Is how easy is it to transport around, just move around in general? How easy is it to set up? And then how easy is it to take down? And then third, how easy is it to carry once it's set up? And let's start with transporting. They both pack down nice and small. The Oru kayak is 32 pounds and the Track kayak is 42 pounds. They're really light. They're in that ultra light class. And so they're both very transportable. Even though the Coast XT is 10 pounds lighter, the Track kayak, in my opinion, is easier to transport. It is easier to transport, and that's because of the bag it comes with. This high quality roller bag just makes it easy to get around everywhere. You're not having to carry it. The Coast XT, it doesn't have a bag. It is its own bag. That means there's edges, things that catch, and it's just not that comfortable against you. It's not bad. I mean, I'm not being highly critical. It's really portable, but we're splitting hairs here. Which one is more portable? What I like about the Track is the bag. It makes it so easy to get around, even though it's a little bit heavier. The Coast XT, it's not as easy to move around, even though it's very easy. But I think more importantly, it's not protected. This is the hull of the kayak for the most part. Now, you can buy a bag for $200. You get a backpack for this. Still not a roller bag, but Track edges out the Coast XT when it comes to transportability. Now, setup time. Both kayaks, neither are fast to set up. Both kayaks take about 10 to 15 minutes to set up once you're used to setting them up. The first time it's going to take you longer than that. It's going to probably take you up to half an hour because you're going to have to consult the instructions. Neither are intuitive. But once you learn the system, 10 to 15 minutes to set up and then about half that to break it down. And so they're even Steven there. Carrying the boat once they're built, well, that's where the Coast XT gets the little edge at 32 pounds instead of 42 pounds on your shoulder. It's lighter, it's easier to carry around. Once again, both are light for a 16-foot kayak. To put it into perspective, a plastic 16-foot touring kayak is going to weigh usually around 65 pounds or so. So pretty much double the weight of either of these kayaks. And so both highly portable. Now let's talk about the performance of both kayaks. And we're going to look at speed, maneuverability, and versatility. Starting with speed, they're 16-foot touring kayaks. They're designed to prioritize speed over stability. And that's what they do. They're both fun, fast boats to paddle. Track is a little bit faster only because it's narrower. And as a general rule, the narrower a kayak is, the faster it is. On the flip side, the wider a kayak is, the more stable it is. And that's why the Track is a little faster, but the Coast XT is a little more stable. Very comparable though. Now, maneuverability. The Coast XT, it doesn't have a rudder or a skeg. Without a rudder or a skeg, in order to help it go straight and track well, it doesn't have a lot of rocker. And rocker is the curvature of the kayak when you look at it from the side. Because it doesn't have a lot of rocker, it's not a highly maneuverable kayak. It doesn't want to turn that easily. It's what you'd expect. It's not a detriment. It's just not a highly maneuverable kayak. But it tracks quite well for a 16-foot kayak that doesn't have a rudder or a skeg. When it comes to maneuverability, this is where the Track kayak really shines. And it's all because of how it's built. It's a skin-on-frame kayak where you have two pieces of frame, a front and back section that go into a skin, and then where they connect, you have these hydraulic jacks. And those jacks push the frame into the skin and tighten it all up. Now you have one jack on the center, on the bottom of the kayak. And as you keep tightening that one up, all of a sudden it can't stretch the kayak anymore, and so it starts bending the kayak. And what that means is you can actually control the rocker of the kayak. If you're just paddling you know, on flat water trying to cover ground and you just want it to be fast and track as well as possible, you can drop it down so it has pretty much no rocker. But if you get in a situation where you want it to be more maneuverable, paddling in rough water, surfing waves, in ocean surf, you know, even on rivers and wanting to just be more maneuverable, you can add a lot of rocker to this kayak. And that's why I said before that the Track is probably the most versatile kayak in the world because it's the only kayak that I know of that truly transforms. Its shape transforms in a meaningful way. And so maneuverability-wise, a huge winner over the Coast XT, but also a huge winner over all other kayaks. That's not a knock on the Coast XT. That really leads us into versatility. Track kayak is also extremely versatile because of that variable rocker. It's much more versatile than the Coast XT because you can adapt the boat to meet the conditions or the type of paddling that you want to do. Now, the Coast XT, it's not just a matter of it not being adaptable. The Coast XT isn't as versatile because it's a couple of things. For one, it doesn't have much rocker, so it's not very maneuverable. It's not going to be as good in rough conditions, in surf and things like that. Now, on top of that, it's not nearly as durable as the Track kayak. And let's talk about durability. That's the next thing we're going to talk about anyway. Starting with the Coast XT, the material it's made of, it's very light and it's surprisingly durable feeling for what it is. But that doesn't mean it's highly durable. It can take some knocks, some bumps, no problem. But I wouldn't trust it to take hitting into rocks with any kind of speed. I wouldn't trust it in big water when waves are crashing on you. And for a couple of reasons. It's not just the material that is susceptible to punctures or cuts or even breakage. One of the issues is there's no internal structure to the kayak. It doesn't have any walls. It has it's got these two little bulkheads that don't even stay in place. And so there's no real structural integrity with this kayak. You can feel it when you sit on it. It moves, it shifts around quite a bit. It's not a durable kayak, and that is a limiting factor of what you can do with this kayak. Now, the track kayak, on the other hand, no, it's not as durable as a plastic Tupperware style kayak that you can beat up and drag everywhere, but it's remarkably durable. And I know that because I've paddled a track for off and on for 20 years, and I put it into some really rough conditions. Big ocean surf down in Jamaica. I've run a bunch of rivers and whitewater with the track. I've hit rocks at a good speed with this thing. Had big waves break on me, and it has held up. And I'm never really worried about the track holding up. And that's for two reasons. That skin on frame model, you basically have a skeleton inside the skin, and that skeleton just gives it a lot of strength, a lot more than the Coast XT. On top of that, the skin, even though it's a fabric, it's a high quality polyurethane, the same material that the Navy uses on Zodiacs. It's designed to withstand abuse. It can handle going into rocks. It can handle bumps and grinds and just day-to-day, not abuse, you don't want to abuse it, but it's surprisingly durable and surprisingly hard to puncture. I have indeed put a hole in the track about 10 years ago when I was in the ocean. I drove myself, the kayak, onto an oyster bed. And if you've ever paddled around or touched oyster beds, they're like razor blades. They do damage to whatever you hit them with. And it put a little hole in it. It took 5 minutes to patch it at the end of the day. And that was that. So anyway, very durable, top marks for a portable kayak for the track for durability. And now let's talk about comfort. The downside of almost any portable kayak is that you tend to give up some comfort for portability. It's just the outfitting has to be less robust in order to be highly portable. Is that the case with these two boats? Yes. You give up a little bit of comfort. Not a lot. That doesn't mean either of them are uncomfortable kayaks, but yeah, they're not as comfortable as a comparable hardshell sea kayak can be. That being said, the Coast XT, basically your seat is just a relatively thin pad on the floor of the kayak. You can get, and I would highly recommend it, an upgraded thicker gel seat. Makes a big difference. You can also get thigh hooks as an upgrade. For me, that's nice to have too. It actually does lend a little bit of comfort to the paddling experience just because your legs feel more supported. Now the track kayak, it has a contoured seat pan. It also has hip pads that integrate very well with it, and it has thigh hooks. It comes with thigh hooks, and you can actually get more aggressive thigh hooks if you want to do some real rough water paddling. Both have back bands too, reasonably good back bands. And so the extra outfitting that comes with the track not only gives you more control, but it also, for me, that control and that being more at one with the boat makes it more comfortable too. So a small edge to the track with comfort as well. So now let's jump right to overall value. As I said at the beginning, in my opinion, both kayaks offer good value. Now, the track kayak at $3,600, that's a chunk of change. But when you look at other high-performing sea kayaks, well, a composite sea kayak is going to cost around $4,500 to $7,000, significantly more. And that's the only way you're going to get a kayak that's lighter than the track kayak. But one of the benefits of the track is that it's portable. It fits in a bag, and it's easy to transport and store. The other big benefit is the adjustable rocker. I mean, it's almost like a bunch of different types of kayak all built in one. And so there are real advantages, and it's cheaper than a composite kayak. And so it's hard to say that it's not really good value at $3,600. On top of that, the track comes with a skirt, the roller bag itself. It comes with sea sock, and it comes with dry bags, flotation bags. That's important, flotation bags. A normal touring kayak or sea kayak has bulkheads. Those bulkheads, which are ones usually right behind the seat and one in front of the feet, these are walls inside the kayak that separate the kayak into different compartments. The value of those bulkheads is that if you go for a swim, you flip and swim, well, only the center of the kayak is going to get flooded with water. The ends of the kayak, they maintain air, and so the kayak floats, and it's easier to just deal with the kayak, do rescues, to tow the boat, to do whatever you need to do. Way, 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 way easier. And so when you're paddling in open water in rough conditions, it's pretty much an essential safety requirement to have that kind of flotation. Neither of these two boats have those bulkheads, and so you need to use flotation bags inside so that if you do go for a swim, those flotation bags take up the space in there and don't let as much water come into the boat. Allows the boat to float and makes it much easier to do rescues and just deal with the boats in general. Going to the Coast XT, you don't get any of these things. You don't get a skirt with the Coast XT. You don't get flotation bags, and you don't get a bag either. But still, at $2,000, the Coast XT is great value. A comparable plastic touring kayak, 16-foot touring kayak, is going to cost around $2,000. It can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500. So it's right in line. You're not paying extra for the portability of the Coast XT. So both are really solid value. Once again, the big question is, which is the right one for you? So who are these kayaks for? Well, the manufacturers say they're designed primarily for intermediate and up kayakers, but that doesn't mean the beginner kayakers can't enjoy both these boats. They just have to accept the fact that they're designed to give up some stability for performance. The Coast XT is a fun and fast boat that is best suited for flat water, maybe as well as some choppy conditions and some mild rough water. I wouldn't be comfortable taking it into anything more than that. Now, the track kayak is also a fun and fast boat to paddle. It's for people who are okay with spending some more money to get a more versatile kayak, a more durable kayak, and a kayak with the extremely unique ability to transform, change shape to accommodate any type of paddling. It's a boat that you'll never grow out of because it can do pretty much any type of paddling that you would want to do. So there you have it, the comparison between the Track 2.0 kayak and the Oru Kayak Coast XT. Two solid portable kayak choices. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already, and stay tuned. Got more comparisons, more gear reviews, more tips, all on this channel. And if you check out my new channel, Ken Whiting Adventures, you'll find paddling adventures. So I guess the last thing I have to say is, if you have anything to add here from your experiences paddling these two boats, then leave a comment down below and share those with the community, because I think it's one of the things I enjoy most about the comparisons, the gear reviews that I do, is that I get to ask and get feedback from all of you out there who have more experience testing particular kayaks than I do. Maybe not more testing this one. I've tested this one all over the world. But I love to hear your thoughts on, in particular, the Coast XT, because I don't have as much experience with that boat. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.